talk about understanding Azure Active Directory. We would also try to understand the local Active Directory as well, and also the different kind of identity models we have. And as an IT admin, what are you going to like tell your customers to use? What should you tell people to use? You need to understand both of them so that you can also help your organization to know what to use that is suitable for your organization. So I'm going to start with what an Active Directory is. An Active Directory is a directory or database developed by Microsoft. So as the word directory says, it's a database. So, when you join an organization, they give you a username, you change your password. So where is that data being stored? It's stored in a database. It's stored in a directory. So that's what the Active Directory does. So now we have the Active Directory domain services. It's a server role in the Active Directory that allows the admin to manage and store this information. I'm going to be showing you what a server looks like and what's and how you can create users. In
I
your
can't
last,
hear anything.
oh my God,
Have you
am I
started?
talking too
Because
fast?
God.
Can any other person hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Aderoju, try to log off and log back in. Okay, please, if I'm talking too fast, also let me know because sometimes I tend to talk fast. Okay, so I would show you what an Active Directory looks like, what a domain controller is, so that you can understand what I'm trying to explain. So now, last 2 weeks, you guys created a user, different users in your tenants. Am I correct? Yes, I watched the video. So yes, you guys created users. So now there is another, that one is in the cloud. So we have the local one now. It's in the server. So let me just quickly share my screen so that it won't be only theory. So you understand what I'm coming from. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, great. So now this is a server. This is what it looks like. And before we tried to create a user using Office 365, but here you can create the users right here in the server. So this is the local way. Before Microsoft 365 came, this was how you create users for an organization. So many organizations still uses this setup to create users for the organization. So now for an Active Directory, it is they have a structure. So as you can see, this is octave.local. This is my domain here. So mine is .local because I don't have a real domain. So yours can be contoso.com, yours can be atadidu.com, anything, your company name is going to be here. Then it's arranged, it has this structure like which Office 365 does not have. So for users, there's what we call an organization unit. So an organization unit is like a folder kind of. So what you are doing is like, okay, I'm trying to create, this is organization unit for IT. So now let's see, this is for my IT admins. When you're in a company that has more than 5,000 people, you have to arrange everybody very, very well so that you don't make mistakes. So now this is my, can you see my IT admins now? Then here I can right click and create a new user. Oh, not printer, sorry. New user. Okay. So now I'm creating my new user as Sarah. Anu. User login name. Sarah Mma. Create password. Then it gives you this option, the same way you saw it in Office 365. User must change password, which means that once I log in, I must change my password. I can set password to never expire. I can say user cannot change password, which means the password I give the user was what the user must keep on using, or if the account is disabled, and you go to next, the password does not match. Okay. I didn't do the password well, of course. Let's see. What am I doing wrong? Oh, finally. So now what I just did now is I created a user in my IT admin organization unit. So this is what a server looks like. And also, if you come to the dashboard, as you can see, my server is I purposely left it down so that you guys can see that my server is having this red. This red means that some services are down. Unlike Office 365, you do not manage the servers. You can't even see the servers. Everything is on the cloud. So Office 365 helps you to manage all those stuff yourself. But this time around, I have to update my server. I have to make sure my server is up to date. I have to install updates. I have to make sure the firewall is on. But in Office 365, you do not need to do all those things. So back to my presentation.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear us now?
Sorry, I can hear you now. Sorry, I think it's from my end. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I just bug into this space now. I decided to show us the difference between Office 365 admin and normal Active Directory.
Yes, I'm trying to explain the different kind of identity models we have. So what I just did is I just showed you what the server is like, where the local Active Directory is. So
But is it is it same thing we have under the Active Directory that we have in Office admin?
I'm
Office
going
365
to
admin.
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to show you the differences. I'm going to show you the similarities, and I'm going to show you all those things you asked just now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. So now this directory I just showed you in my server is going to list out all the user accounts with the user's information, like you can add user's contact information, job title, just the same way you did in your Office 365 labs. So now we move to Azure Active Directory. What is Azure Active Directory? It's a Microsoft cloud-based identity to access management service. So do we all have our tenants running?
No, not yet on my side.
Okay. Any other person? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to show you mine then. So what Azure Active Directory now is an Active Directory
And
where you store.
we can't see your window. We can't see anything. From my end, I can't see your screen. Hello?
Hello. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Give me a second. Can you see it now?
No.
Yes, I can see your screen. I can see your screen.
Uh, what's happening from my end now?
Can you see my screen? You can see the screen, right?
If others can see, just continue.
Yes, I can see your screen. I can see.
Okay, Aderoju, you can log off and log back in and try to see if it's a network
Okay,
thing.
thank you. Sorry to disturb you.
It's fine. All right, so the Azure Active Directory is a Microsoft cloud-based identity and access management service. So now I've showed you what a local Active Directory looks like. Now I'm going to show you what the Azure Active Directory looks like and what it does, and the advantage of an Azure Active Directory. So if you remember when I showed you the local Active Directory, you can see that I had some red stuff saying that my server is down or there's some services that are not running on my server. But for Azure Active Directory, Microsoft is telling you that, see, we are going to manage all these things on your behalf. You do not need to, worry about servers. You do not need to worry about how to update your firewalls and what have you. So Azure Active Directory lives on Microsoft servers in Microsoft data centers. You don't have to buy them, you don't have to configure them, you just have to have a license, which I believe we all do with our test trial tenants. Please try to mute your mic if you're not going to be asking a question. So once your organization subscribes to any Microsoft business services, such as Office 365, you have a free Azure AD. Although there are some licenses in which you have to, like add extra features, but the free one almost does almost everything. So the Azure Active Directory, before I show you, is where you can configure things like multi-factor authentication. I don't know if any one of us have experienced when we try to sign in somewhere, it asks us for an extra step, like an extra authentication, like sending a code to your phone and all those stuff. So Azure Active Directory is where you manage everything. Azure Active Directory is where you manage your users, where you manage your devices, and also you can also delete users, add users in Azure Active Directory, just the same way you did it in the Office 365 admin portal. So now there are many ways to go to the Azure Active Directory from your accounts, but I'll be showing you via the admin portal since that is what you've been introduced to. So I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to share my browser this time around. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to admin.microsoft.com. So once you set up your tenants, you should be able to access this. So you will sign in with your admin username and password, which is what you use to create the tenants. So if you remember correctly, this is the admin portal. This is where you created the users last 2 weeks, where you created guest users, where you see your deleted users, where you created your teams and your group. So now this is other admin centers. We have the security, the compliance, the endpoints manager, which is for Intune, Azure Active Directory, Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams. So I'm not going to go deep dive into it. I'm going to just go straight to Azure Active Directory. So once I go straight to Azure Active Directory, it takes me to another page where I have to sign in with my admin account. Okay, beautiful. So now this is the Azure Active Directory page. As you can see, it's very, 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 very different from the server I just showed you right now. So yeah, this is where you can also add users. If you had a user here, it's also going to show in this other one as well, the one you are introduced to. So if I had a user here, it's going to show here. If I had a user here, it's going to show here. They are communicating with each other. So but Azure Active Directory has these extra features where you can do a lot of things. So let me go back to Contoso. Yes. All right. Okay, so now you can see we have the users, we have groups, we have external identities, we have roles and administrators where you can add roles and give rights to some admins in your organization, just like in the Office 365 portal, as you did last week. We have devices, which is this is a good thing I want to show you as well. This is where you add device to the organization. Now, as you can see, there are two devices in my organization. It's called Green and Desktop. So now this device is owned by these two people, Ibrahim and Miriam. Compliance is not available. So this is where you can also like check out how many devices are being signed into your organization, which I'm going to show you right now, right away. So I go to settings on my PC. Let me go back so that you can see where I started from. So when you go to settings on your local PC, you go to accounts. Yes. Once you click on accounts, you go to access work or school. So before I connect, I want us to take a look again. As you can see on in this place, my name is not here. My device is not yet here. That this my laptop is not connected to the Azure Active Directory. So once I just click on connect, Okay, so now you see, join this device to Azure Active Directory, join this device to your local Active Directory domain. So depending on the model you use in your organization, you can join a device to either the Azure Active Directory or a local Active Directory. Remember, I told you an Active Directory is just a database of where information are being stored. So once I just click on this, or I can just type in my email address and it's going to automatically pick it. So you see, hold on while we register this device with your company and apply policy. This may take a moment. So for example, if my company has like a policy that is set in place that may not allow me to access some apps, this is what's going to happen. It's going to show, yes, it's showing here now as my account. Now when we now go back to the Azure Active Directory and you click refresh, it may take a while. Let's give it 1 or 2 minutes. It's taking a while. Okay, as you can see now, my computer has now appeared here. That, oh, Sarah has joined has joined a device to your organization. So that is what Azure Active Directory can do. Another advantage of Azure Active Directory is also custom domain names, just as in the Office 365 side also. As you can see, these are my domains. I have onyegift.ga, I have rawsim.ga, I have octavelaundry.ga, but it's not verified. And this is the .onmicrosoft.com, the one that you cannot delete, as explained in the last class. So company branding, you can put your logo, everything here. You can configure your company's logo in this side also as well, so that once your users are signing in, they are signing in with that logo, with that brand. So this is where you can do all those things, and properties as well. So for instance, this is where you manage your security defaults. So I'm going to give you a case study. Um, when I was a technical support engineer, a new client raised a ticket with us and told us that, hey, I don't want this MFA thing. It's just appearing. How do I turn it off? So Microsoft did a thing that once you create a new tenant, I think since 2018 or so, it automatically turns on your security default. It will be set to yes. So once it's set to yes, you would have to enable MFA by force. MFA means multi-factor authentication. That's what allows you, what sends you like, oh, open your Microsoft app authentication, or it sends a code to your phone number. Some people do not want it, like businesses of like 5 or 10 people, they do not want it. So this is where you turn it off, and like so your users are free to log in just with their password. But we always encourage everybody to enable security defaults. That's multi-factor authentication. But if you do not want, you have the choice to turn it off here as well. So Azure Active Directory is also where you can monitor things that are going on. You can also check security. Security is where you have conditional access policies. Now, what is conditional access policies? For instance, your company is just in Nigeria. You don't want anybody from you don't want when your users travel to, let's say, Ghana, you don't want them to access the company's information. So you can create a policy that says anybody that tries to access the company's portal, that tries to log in from anywhere that is not Nigeria, should be blocked. So this is where you create policies like that. And it's very, very useful, and it's making it makes organization more secure. Then we have what we call the sign-in logs in the Azure Active Directory. So this is where you see all the signings. If you can see my screen, all the signings that has been made and the IP address. As you can see my IP address, see my location, um, conditional access policy if I had one, then see Miriam zone. Miriam signed in Lagos, Nigeria. So everything, you can check everything on the Azure Active Directory. It's a very, very good portal that you, as an IT admin, you should know how to use. So I'm just trying to explain the day-to-day activities that as an admin you can do on the Azure Active Directory. So you can add users, you can delete users, you can restore users. Probably you deleted a user by mistake. This is where you can restore the users. When you go to users, you go to deleted users, and you can restore any user that was deleted by mistake. So you have 30 days. After 30 days, they are permanently deleted. So you can also change a user's password. You can also assign roles to people or to users in your organization using this. You can create a group. You can create a what we call a dynamic group. You don't have that in the Office 365 Admin Center. So there are two ways to create a group. Either you create a group using assigned, which means assigned means I just create the group and I add the members. But for example, your organization is very big and you want to be like, okay, anybody that is a student, maybe for example, you are a school, you have students, you have teachers. Do you understand? And now you want to create a group that anybody that comes in as a student should automatically be added to a group. That is when you use a dynamic user. So it's just like you just need to add a query saying that, oh, okay, choose a property. If the person's domain name is at students dot at students dot lasutech.com, add the person directly to the students group. So this is where you do all those changes. Azure Active Directory is a very, very important tool. And I would advise everyone, once your tenant is set up, to just try to, browse around it and understand what each and everything is. So yes, you can also change the Azure Active Directory group owners here. You can add or remove members here. Before I continue, is there any question with what I've explained, or would you like me to shed more light on any of the things I've explained?
I think shedding more light will be better.
Okay. All right. So where exactly would you want me to shed more light? Is it in the Azure Active Directory portal, in the local Active Directory portal?
Um, I kind of want to. Actually, I didn't start from the beginning, but I kind of want to know the connection, like between Microsoft 365 and Azure Active Directory. I want to know the the connectivity. I mean, how I don't really understand. Sorry.
Okay. All right. It's fine. All right. So Microsoft 365 is a SaaS tool, software as a service application, and it runs on Azure. So in the hierarchy, Azure is like the infrastructure. So remember I explained to you concerning the local Active Directory. It's in a server. So now Office 365 now it's in Azure. So Microsoft is that word server now. Microsoft is trying to take away that word from us because they don't want us to manage those things ourselves. So Microsoft 365 is banking on this Azure service. So when you create a user in Office 365, it is being stored somewhere. So that is where it is being stored in this Azure Active Directory side of things. When you create a new user, when you create a group in the Office 365, where is it being stored? It's stored in the Azure Active Directory Admin Center. So it's Azure is like the infrastructure part, is that part that's Microsoft, that's that part that in the olden days, not olden days, people are still using it, is that part that instead of you to be managing these things yourself, they are trying to take it away from you. So that's where Azure comes in. So Microsoft 365 is kind of under Azure. I don't know if that makes sense. Did I explain your question?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right, good. So Azure is that identity platform that helps to store those information. And what I just explained is what you can do in the Azure Active Directory portal. These are the day-to-day, these are the free things, exactly. These are the free things that once you have an Office 365, these are still the free things you can do. There are still so many things you can do, but you will need to, pay extra for that. So back to the presentation. So I just wanted to give a brief overview.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Sorry, I want to ask
Okay.
if like we that are learner on this aspect of Office 365.
Yes.
When we create a tenant, a free tenant,
Mhm.
can we also access all these what's it called, functions on the free tenant?
Yes, yes, that is why I'm showing you that. So yes, this my tenant also is a free tenant as well. So yes, you can access it as long as you're seeing that free trial period. Everything I just showed you can access it. You can make changes. You can check who signed in and who doesn't sign in. So let me share my screen again on that because that is one of the major things that Azure Active Directory is being used for.
Okay,
So
okay,
yes, you can access all this stuff. And okay, it seems you are not on the call when I got here. Once you can access this right in your tenants. Once you come here, you come to the admin center, you see it here, Azure Active Directory. So once you click on it, it takes you here. Also, you can just go to portal.azure.com. This is an alternative way of logging in instead of going to the admin portal. You sign in, and Azure is very big, it's very, very big. It's a whole course on its own. So we're just interested for now in the manage Azure Active Directory. So once you click on view, boom, you are back here. So yes, you have access to all this by the left. You have access to almost everything here. But if you need probably like if you need some extra information, you may need to pay for an extra license. So yes, I didn't talk about support. You can also raise a new support request if maybe you want to speak to like a Microsoft support engineer concerning your tenants, something went wrong somewhere, or you're getting some errors, you can raise a support request with them. It's free and they will reach out to you and help you to resolve the issues you have. So the most important thing I like about the Azure Active Directory is these sign-in logs. We've had people raise tickets and say, oh my God, somebody tried to sign into my account from Pakistan and they're like in the US. And I'm like, how? So this is where we explain to them, this is where you, as an IT admin, explain to them that, oh, you know what, let's just try and create a policy that's going to make anybody that is not in the US to log in to your organization. So this is a very, very good tool. I would advise everybody to, browse around to understand what's going on here. Okay. All right. So let me go back to the presentation so we can continue. Any other further question before I continue with the presentation? Okay. That's a no. Right. In a few seconds, let me resume. Okay. So now we know what an Azure Active Directory is. We know what it looks like. As an IT admin, you can use this to control access to your applications, your resources based on your business requirements. For example, you can use Azure Active Directory to require MFA, multi-factor authentication, when accessing important organization resources. Additionally, you can use Azure AD to automate user provisioning, which I told you about concerning that dynamic rules. And it gives you powerful tools to automatically help protect your users' identity and credentials. For example, the conditional access policy I spoke about, that you can use the Azure admin portal to create conditional access policies that, tell people like, oh, I don't want people to log in from so IP address, or I don't want people to log in from this address. So that is about the overview for Azure Active Directory. Moving on, um, Azure Active Directory versus Active Directory Domain Services. There are a lot. There are so many different. There are different in so many ways. So as I explained earlier, Active Directory lives on the on-premises computers, especially on-premises computers. It's called a domain controller actually. A domain controller, for example, what I showed you, that's my server, is a domain controller. We are going to go back there again just to browse through. You have to buy those machines and you have to configure them, you have to install them. but I didn't buy mine. Mine was a virtual machine. So you have to install, but for you to be able to access that, you need a subscription and Azure credits. So you need to purchase these machines. You need to install the Windows Server operating system in every one of them. You have to configure it, and that's for the Active Directory. But for Azure, you don't have to buy, you don't have to configure, you don't have to make sure that your server is hot or your server is cool, or the server room is too hot or the server room is too cool. You don't have to do all those parts. So that's one advantage of the Azure Active Directory. And also, Azure Active Directory is great at managing user access to cloud applications. So like your Office 365 applications and all, Azure Active Directory is very good at managing your user access to those applications. While the local one, of course, is good for managing like your on-premises applications. uh, for those that are still on premises, they still have their Exchange on premises and whatnot. The local Active Directory is a very good tool for managing that. For Azure Active Directory, there is no group policy. Why for Active Directory there is a group policy. So now group policy just simply means a policy that the company must have put in place for every users or for every device. For example, there are some things you may want to change on your office computer, or there's some commands you may want to run on your PowerShell on your office computer. It will give you error. That means someone somewhere have blocked it. But Azure Active Directory doesn't give that policy. So that's the advantage of the local AD to the Azure AD. Then also another advantage of the local AD is that it has what we call the organization unit that I just showed you. If you remember, I created an OU called IT admins. So it helps you separate like everybody from everybody. Imagine you have a company or a school of 10,000 students, you would need an organization unit, because you don't want to be touching or changing. Because once you change something, it may affect the others. So you want to make sure that every OU is separate. You have maybe physics teachers OU, maybe you have electrical engineering lecturers OU, electrical engineering 100 level students OU, electrical engineering 200 level. So just imagine there is no OU. How are you going to manage your students? How are you going to find somebody? How will we be making those changes? So that is one of the advantage that the local on-premises Active Directory have compared to Azure Active Directory. Moving on to the identity models. So now, as I've spoken about the local Active Directory and the Azure Active Directory, but we have what we call the hybrid identity. So now, if you notice from my explanation, um, both of them are useful, and there are some companies that will want to use the two of them. There are some companies that will just want to, stay on the cloud. There are some companies that are still very scared of moving to the cloud. So as an IT admin, what are you going to do? What are you going to say to your clients, to your customers, to your organization that this is what we should do? So this is where you come in as an IT admin. You need to understand the different type of models. You need to understand when to use which model. You need to understand how to advise your manager, your organization, your customers that, oh, let's use this one. So now for the cloud only identity, it only exists in the Azure AD tenants. For hybrid identity, there are two copies. One is in local AD, which I showed you. The other one will be in the Azure AD. So yes, I know that you'll be like, but Sarah, you didn't connect it in our front. So yes, next class is going to be more of connecting these two identity platforms together. So there is a way you can actually use both of them. You can use both your local Active Directory and the Azure Active Directory. For example, again, I'm still going to use the school example again. When you have plenty OUs like that, you would want to leverage on the advantage of the local AD. But at the same time, you want them to have access to some cloud application. So what you are going to do now is you're going to connect these two services together. Microsoft allows you to connect these two services together. So you can just create the users in the OU in your local Active Directory and sync it to the cloud. So meaning the user will be both on the local Active Directory and it's also going to be on the cloud. Same password, same username, same organization OU, same everything. You don't need to change much. It will just sync automatically after you download the necessary tools. A second, please. Go back. Okay. For the cloud-only identity, it's very simple to use. No extra directory tools or servers required. So what that is just saying is that, for example, like a company of 10 users, 15 users, a very small company, they can leverage on the cloud only. Um, they don't need that structure. They don't need that OU. They don't need that structure. So it's very easy to use, and you can easily administer those yourself. You don't need to buy servers. You don't need all those. You don't need that extra costs. So it's very good to use the cloud only identity if you're like a small business. And the good thing about that is that even if you're on the hybrid model, the users can still sign into both. So these are the different kind of identity models we have on this other side. Organization does not have or need an on-premises ADDS. Organization using ADDS for use ADDS or another identity provider. So now we will go to the demo to understand how hybrid identity works. Before I move ahead, do you have any question on what I've explained about the cloud-only identity and the hybrid identity? So hybrid just means we are joining these two things together. We are joining the cloud and the local Active Directory. Why the cloud only means we are only banking on the Azure Active Directory. So as an IT admin, you need to understand what your users want, what your company wants, and how many users they have, which one is going to benefit who properly. So before I move ahead to the demo, like, do you have any other question? Any feedback, any question before I continue? Okay, I'll take that you guys understood what I said very well, and that if I ask any question, you guys can also answer my
Sorry,
questions.
I'm so sorry. I don't actually want to like start drawing us back. Probably I have to watch the video all over again because I'm kind of confused about the Azure Active Directory and the local Active Directory. I think I'm kind of confused. Just for the sake of time, I might watch the video again.
It's fine. It's okay. So I want to understand where you're confused. So it's going to help me. Like, do you understand the differences yet?
I think that's where my confusion is starting.
Okay. All right. So I think probably because it's more theoretical, let me show you like side by side what the two of them is, and so you can make your decisions and still ask more questions if you have. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'll be sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Now this is my server. Now remember I said that the local Active Directory is running on the server, while I am Azure Active Directory or Microsoft 365 is running on Azure. So Microsoft has taken care of this part that you cannot see for Azure. This part you can't see in Azure. You don't know which server it is. You don't have to manage all this red sign, services are down or whatever. You don't need to manage those things. So that's one difference. Now that is the major difference between the Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. Now, if you remember, for this one, this is where you create your users. And I try to explain that we have what we call organization OUs. Organization OUs is just basically these folders, like different folders. So I can create a new organization unit and name it maybe electrical engineering students. Okay. So now I have two OUs now. Leave the other ones that are already there. I'm just trying to show you how to create a OUs and the advantage of this over Azure. Now Azure does not have this. They don't have this folder like OUs. You just create users. They don't have the OU per se. So now for a company that is big, that have many users, they want something like this. They want a structure. Like, okay, if I'm looking for Onye per se, I know Onye is in she's an IT admin. I'll just come here, do whatever I want to do, and just go on my own. While if I want to, oh, I created this wrongly. While if I want to look for like electrical engineering students, for example, I just come here, look for my electrical engineering students. And this is how you create users here. You just right click on new, click on user, or you can also come here and click on new user, create new user in the current container. So organization unit is like a container. It's where those things, those users are being contained. Now, Azure Active Directory on the other hand, let me open two of them so that we'll be seeing the differences. You just create users anywhere, anyhow, no organization units, no departments, no hierarchy. Everybody just create new user like that. There is no folder for each users. Do you understand that part? Like this part I just explained now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that is just another difference from the local Azure Active Directory and the Active Directory. Now, when I said hybrid, I meant that we want you to be able to use these two at the same time for one company. So it's we are going to do it. The demo is going to be next class. I didn't want to take that, should be next class. That's why I'm trying to stay away from going deep into that. So how do we connect that? How do you connect these two together? We have what we call the Azure Active Directory Connect tool. It's my server this year. So this year is what you are going to do next week. In the next class, it's going to connect you to Office 365. So once this is connected to Office 365, any user you create here, any user you create here is going to appear in Azure. I don't know if that makes sense. Are we still confused? Any user you create here using this Azure Active Directory Connect tool is going to appear in Office 365. So remember, both of them have their own advantages, both of them have their own disadvantages with one another. And also, some companies are already using this one already, this old method. So you telling them to just go and start afresh in Azure Active Directory is like it's going to be too big on them. Nobody will want to do that. So Microsoft is now saying, okay, we have what we call hybrid. You can use the two of them side by side until small, you finally leave this place and move to the cloud. Or if you want to forever use the two of them, fine and good. Do we have any questions concerning what I just explained?
So sorry, sorry, I don't understand that the way you explain the hybrid of it.
Okay.
Is it hello? Is it that the hybrid you can use it on premises and without, while you have not have any cloud at all?
Yes. The no hybrid means mixture of both. That's what
Okay.
it means. Hybrid means to mix something.
Yeah,
When
sure, sure.
yeah. So that's what it means. So the hybrid identity models means like just as the name said, hybrid mixture. We are mixing both on-prem and um and cloud. For example, let me just try to use let me say let me use which company is very very old now. Okay, First Bank since 1980, right? We're all Nigerians here.
That's my
First
answer.
First Bank is since 1980. For example, during 1980, I don't think there was Azure Active Directory. There was everything was in the server, right?
Yes,
And now
yes.
Microsoft is coming and saying that First Bank, we have a more easy way for you to, manage your people, manage password, manage everything, but you need to move to the cloud. And if Microsoft doesn't give them that hybrid like model, do you think First Bank will just leave everything they are doing, leave their data, and just go and follow Microsoft? No, they would not. So you need to like and tease them small, small before they finally move, right? That's where hybrid comes in. Like, okay, we already have our server. We have our server tools. We have our server room. We have our IT guys that are already working our server. But Microsoft is giving us a juicy offer saying that if we move to the cloud, we can have some applications, we can have this MFA, we can check our users, we can stop our users from signing in to firstbank.com from any country that is not in Nigeria. We can do some things. And we don't need to change our password. It's the same password, the same username that we already have before. We don't need to change anything. Let's try this Microsoft thing they're talking about. That is when that connects will now come in. And so now like, okay, I'm going to connect you. Or everybody you have already created in your server before, they will just automatically appear in the cloud. Like they just automatically, once the IS admin just do some things, which we are going to talk on in the next class, they will just automatically appear in the cloud. So you don't need to do much extra work. So that is Microsoft being like telling them to, come to the cloud bit by bit, bit by bit. So who knows, in the nearest future, everybody may like not like be on-prem again. They'll be like, okay, we trust Microsoft and we want to stay in Microsoft forever. Good. Or like we don't fully trust Microsoft, but we still want to enjoy some things that Microsoft have to offer. That is when the hybrid comes in. Like I want to stay in the middle. I don't want to put all my leg in the cloud. I don't want to put all my leg also in the server. So that's what hybrid means. Hybrid is just combination of the both of them.
Okay, so let me just put something in addition to all that Sarah has explained. There are some, so we have regulations and we have policies too in organizations, and some of these policies can state that the users must authenticate on on premise, like on the local identity that is in the environment. So if you have a policy like that, then you cannot only use the cloud to authenticate. So next, we're going to talk about all the different methods. There are some methods that though you are hybrid, but the authentication happens on your servers that are in your office, not in the cloud. So in such scenarios, a company cannot say, okay, we want to do cloud only. You understand? Then there are other situations where, so sometimes you see some companies, they may have screensavers, or everybody will have the same screensaver across the bank. Those kind of things are managed by group policy. And like Sarah explained, that there's no group policy in Azure Active Directory, it's only on Azure on-premise. So they use their AD on-prem to manage those type of group policies that determine what the screensaver should be and what the home screen should be on the systems. So in that situation, the hybrid is what they use, especially in very large enterprises. Most large enterprises like banks, all the FM, all the manufacturing companies, most of them are using hybrid. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So Aderoju, I hope we've been able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, she also mentioned a word called authentication. Authentication just simply means like you should have access to something. You are authenticated to something that for example, if you sign into your some of you are having some errors um in the group chat saying you cannot sign into your office account. It's because either you did not put the right password or you didn't put the code. That means you are not authenticated to should be Abby. Yes, you don't have the you don't have the authentication to like access that particular service at that particular time. So that is when hybrid identity comes in. So I believe that we are able to understand that. Any other further question?
Okay. I don't know if you've talked about the local Active Directory. I mean, how to is it kind of does it require any set of like um any special setting of like I don't really know.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
That's a good question. Yes. So, however, for you to set up this server, you would need an Azure credit. So some of you have been running away from putting your your debit card into somewhere. You would have to put your debit card in this time around to get up to 200 free Azure credits. So now my server runs on what we call a virtual machine. It's not really a part of our course for Office 365. That's why I did not go deep into it. So a virtual machine is, as name imply, a virtual machine. It's a computer, but it's a computer in a computer. It's a computer that is located somewhere, but I can have access to. Can you guys see my screen? If you can see my screen, you can see this computer you can see this computer symbol. So what I did is I just um got a virtual machine from the Azure portal. Let me show you real quick. That is out of scope for us, but I'll just do a quick brief introduction on it. Which of my accounts? Okay, let me use this one. Okay. All right. So as you can see, if you can see my screen, I have $125 worth of credit. So this is where you create a virtual machine. You can create virtual machines for different things. As an IT admin, an Office 365 IT admin, you would make use of this a lot. So yes, it's good. It's good you have it. So you get 200 free credits if you want to sign up for it. If you want to sign up for it, I think you just go here. Okay, go to Microsoft Azure. See it here. Start with an Azure free trial. Get $200 free credits towards Azure free plus 12 months free services. So if you want to be able to create a virtual machine, you need to sign up for a free trial for $200. So yes, my server is running on a virtual machine, and the virtual machine is being hosted on Azure. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Any other further question before we call it a day? I hope you understand what we did today in class. I just want to make sure that we all understood what today's class was about. So today's class was just more of introduction into the different kind of models. Next week is going to be more hands-on, more practical. You see how these things work. You see how you can create a user on your server and how the user is going to appear in the Azure side of things. That's your Office 365. So I just want to, this is just watering the ground to what is to come next week. I also put some references in case you want to read more about the Azure Active Directory and the identity models. The slides are available, so you can just pick this link and just try to read more to understand the different kind of models we have. So any other question?